Did you get the deck of cards, folks? If you didn't, that's okay. If you did, how early did you get it? I would guess most of you got it just because of the nature of the conference that you're going to be attending. So, good job if you did. But the actual question and solution were not the point of this. The point of this was just to show you how to provide good content in an online environment, especially from a teacher's perspective. The most important thing you can do to be successful in today's environment is to engage the audience early and often. Get them part of the process immediately, have them making decisions, especially in the bridge world. Making decisions and making mistakes is how we learn. And I'm going to show you some tips and tricks of how to gain the information you used to have in a live environment in an online world. One of the toughest things to do as an online teacher, at least if you're used to a live audience, is to be staring at a screen when you used to be staring at 20 smiling students in front of you, or frowning students that you knew were having an issue and you could spot out and give some extra care to. Those days are gone, but they are replaced by other tools that we can use as long as we let our students know those are options and encourage them to use them. So I'm going to try to keep this relatively short, which is another good idea for online content. So let me introduce myself first, folks. My name is Rob Barrington. I am a professional bridge player and a world-renowned bridge instructor. Some of you may have seen my YouTube channel where I have a bunch of content that I've been creating for a few years, and also talk to some of my other pro friends every once in a while for some fun videos on that medium. But that is probably why I'm here today talking to you guys. I have the experience a few years before you did of talking into a screen, which is a foreign and very odd experience if you're used to getting that feedback from live students, which is so valuable. And it is so amazing how much you miss it when it is deprived from you. You don't realize how important it was to succeeding in your job as a teacher to not be able to physically be in the same room as your students. My experience has been pretty straightforward because I was actually bringing the digital world into live classrooms before anything happened, COVID wise, because of the advantages of learning in the digital medium. And I will show you exactly what I mean in a moment. But first, let me bring you in and ask you guys a question. What would you think is the best way to learn the game of bridge? Now, this is for those of you that have played bridge before and are good bridge players, and this is for people that have never played. Let's take a look and see if we can come up with the right answer. Is it to read books about the game? Is it to take all of Rob's classes? Is it to play bridge? Or is it to ask a friend? What is the best way to learn the game of bridge? And all of you out there, I mean, I'm very happy if those of you chose to choose B. That is a nice form of flattery, and I appreciate that. But really, we all know the answer is C. The absolute best way to learn how to play the game of bridge and to improve your game, to continue learning the game, is to play the game itself. Right? That we play the game to learn the game, which is why it's so much fun to learn if we can have the patience to really be bad at it for a while. All of the other answers on this page are reasonable ways to learn bridge. I mean, I think B is pretty good for sure. A is amazing, right? And D is equally amazing, especially if your friend is a better player than you are. So there are a lot of ways to learn how to play the game, but the absolute best way is to play. So what makes that better than sitting here listening to me talk about bridge, right? Or watching some YouTube videos, right? What makes playing the game better than just listening to someone talk or learning from a better player talk about bridge? Well, is it A, the decisions you make? B, mistakes you make while playing? C, experience? Or D, all of the above? I think we're all probably doing pretty well in the quiz portion of this program. we started out with a very nice riddle, which probably, some people didn't get right. These questions are pretty straightforward, I hope for you. This should be all of the above. You learn so much more after you have experienced something, right? You've gone through the process of thinking about a problem, making a decision, and then learning the result of your decision, whether that's good and gives you B, a mistake, which I love, by the way. I think the greatest thing you can do to learn bridge is make as many mistakes as possible. In fact, the reason I am as good a bridge player as I am is I have made hundreds of thousands of more mistakes than you have, right? I've gone through that all, and that has made me better. And the thought process that goes into the pre-mistake is what really matters. So all of these things are excellent reasons why the actual playing of the game is better. So my thought process originally in New York when I started teaching traditional classes was, man, no wonder classes aren't teaching bridge, because how many decisions do you get in a traditional bridge class with me standing in front of a whiteboard and 12 people at a table, 4 to a table? One person gets a decision per hand, maybe two. So maybe in an hour and a half, 2 hours, you get 6 to 8 decisions total. That is not enough, right? Decisions and mistakes will help you learn. Even if you're not playing, you can kind of take a shortcut, right? So that is what online learning and digital learning does better than actual live learning could ever have done. When you take even the cards away, you shorten the time from decision to decision. And the more decisions that a student gets to make, and more importantly, the more mistakes they get to learn from in the shorter period of time, makes them better. Right? The more we get to make these choices, even if we're not actually playing cards, which we can do anytime, playing bridges is still the best. However, when you get into this digital format and you can actually give people something like, I don't know, this was a slide I conducted in one of my recent classes. And essentially what I did is I started with one hand and gave them 3 different auctions for each hand, right? And this is a look at the entire slide after it's complete, but we're giving them one at a time, right? So here on just one slide, a student could get 12 decisions that we get to not only see them decide, we get to talk about it afterwards. And here's where the feedback comes in, folks. When you are giving a lesson like this in an online format on Zoom, which is the medium that I prefer, anything that has a chat function, the chat is key. You ask a question to the student. They are engaged. They are answering a question. They should be thinking about it. Okay. Lead them in as you would as a good bridge teacher and give them their decision. Let them make their choice. And your feedback is going to be twofold. The answers are one. The answers are amazing for you. They're gold. Because if everyone answers the exact same perfect response, like on this one, number one, if you are a bridge player watching this, for example, they should be bidding to no Trump, right? So when you're looking at the chat, if you see everyone in the chat piling in quickly to no Trump, you know this is a question that is not going to require much explanation at all, and you can move on from it. This is without your student ever volunteering any issue or question of any kind. Make sure you're asking them to make a choice and stress the importance of them making that decision, right? It is a shortcut to learning every single time. Right. So when they make the choice, we see how the audience is doing, and we spend the amount of time we need to on the ones that a lot of people are getting wrong, and really try to trip them up and give them those mistakes that are so necessary for improvement. The other thing you get through the chat function of any sort of medium you're using is the actual question from the students, right? They will ask a question, and the things that I do to encourage everything is, as any time I'm in some sort of live broadcast, I always will tell them that that's a very good question. And to be honest, every time someone asks a question, it's a very good question, right? I don't look at a question and ever go, oh my goodness, what? No, that is great, because do you know what that person is doing? They're asking a question for 6 different people, right? So when they ask a question, it is so important to reward them for asking that question, because it gets more discussion out there, and other students aren't afraid to get in there. Make your decisions, have them make them. get the feedback there, encourage questions, and answer them in a very straightforward and accepting way. And you will be so much further ahead in your online classes. And here's what was once like, here's another one I do regularly. Here's a one auction in 4 different hands, and I give them one hand at a time. And then we talk about the results afterwards. So it's all about getting them into a point where you can get a certain amount of time in where they're making decisions consistently, they stay engaged, and they get actually better in a shorter period of time because they're getting more of these decisions and mistakes in during a class than they ever have in their bridge lifetime. So I hope this was a pretty good idea of what I've been up to, and some good ideas on how you can kind of improve on any sort of online delivery of your lessons that you're thinking of doing now or in the future. So guys, I hope to see you. It'll be very early morning my time for the panel, but I plan to be there. So I look forward to your questions and your comments on this video. So take care, guys, and I will see you all soon.